The ceramic mug slips from my fingers before I can catch it, shattering into a dozen jagged pieces at my feet. Gia's laugh rings out sharp and bright, bouncing off the kitchen walls, while Cynthia leans against the counter, her expression cool and unapologetic. "Oh, don't look so devastated," Cynthia says, swirling wine in a glass I bought for her birthday 2 years ago. "You always did have a way of giving us things we never even asked for. Consider this payback." People are watching from the doorway, neighbors I've helped carry groceries, friends I've stayed up with through heartbreak, and not one of them steps forward. The floor feels cold through my thin socks, and I can taste the salt of tears I refuse to let fall. I have spent 10 years holding these two up, solving every crisis, patching every mistake, and now they stand there like I was never anything more than a burden they finally set down. For as long as I can remember, I have been the one who makes things right. I am 28, and my days are stitched together with small acts of rescue. Negotiating payment plans for people who can't afford their bills, tracking down lost paperwork for families overwhelmed by red tape, sitting through late nights to help someone rewrite a resume or prepare for a difficult conversation. I never charge. It never feels like something you should ask payment for, helping someone stand on their own feet. I live in a small, sunlit apartment with plants I tend carefully, and I keep a notebook filled with notes on everyone I know. Who is allergic to cinnamon? Who needs extra encouragement? Who is still waiting for a call that will never come? My biggest dream was to open a proper community help center, a place where no one had to beg for assistance or feel ashamed to ask for it. I saved every spare dollar, planned every detail, and told no one but Gia and Cynthia, my oldest friends, the two people I thought would cheer loudest when I finally turned that dream into reality. They were the ones who needed me most, or so I thought. Gia was 26, bright and charismatic, but prone to chasing every shiny opportunity that crossed her path, leaving a trail of unpaid debts and broken commitments behind her. I talked her landlord into giving her extra time when she fell behind on rent, covered her medical bills when she skipped insurance to pay for a trip, and helped her land a job at a marketing firm by sharing my own network of contacts. Cynthia was 27, quieter and sharper, with a talent for design but a habit of letting fear keep her from finishing anything. I edited her portfolio, paid for her software licenses, and talked her into pitching her work to clients she was too nervous to approach alone. I did it all without hesitation, because that is what you do for people you love. I never imagined they would look at everything I had built, my savings, my reputation, the trust I had spent years earning, and see only something they could take for themselves. The truth came out in pieces over 3 weeks of slow, sickening realization. First, I found the transfer notices. My entire life savings, every dollar I had set aside for the center, moved into a joint account I had never authorized, then withdrawn in full. Then the rumors started. People told me Gia had been saying I was unstable, that I owed her money, that the help I gave was just a way to control everyone around me. Cynthia had been going to the businesses I worked with, claiming I had misrepresented my credentials and warning them not to trust anything I said. I found the lease agreement for the office space I had looked at 6 months earlier, signed by both of them, under a new name, with a note scrawled in the margin. Finally, something that's actually ours. They had watched me work, listened to my plans, learned every contact and every trick I knew, and then decided I was the only thing standing in the way of the success they felt they deserved. When I confronted them that afternoon, they didn't even try to deny it. "You act like you're some kind of saint," Gia had said, her voice hard. "We're just tired of being the projects you fix so you can feel better about yourself." "You always got all the praise," Cynthia added, not looking me in the eye. "It's our turn now." The next month was a blur of empty spaces and closed doors. Clients I had helped for years stopped answering my calls. People crossed the street to avoid talking to me. The small community groups I volunteered with quietly removed my name from their listings. I could have shouted the truth from every rooftop, but I knew how it looked. The generous helper suddenly claiming betrayal by the people closest to her, while those same people presented themselves as the victims of my overreach. Gia and Cynthia were good at performing hurt, good at making themselves look like the reasonable ones. I spent nights sitting on my floor, staring at the empty spot where my notebook used to be. They had taken it too, filled with every name and contact I had ever built. I almost gave up more than once. But then I remembered the single mother who had cried when I helped her keep her apartment, the teen who had gotten his first job because I walked him through the application process, the elderly man who still left jars of jam on my doorstep to say thank you. I realized I wasn't fighting for my pride. I was fighting for the people who would have nowhere to turn if those two got to decide what help looked like. If you've ever had someone take everything you care about most, you know there's no satisfaction in tearing them down. The only victory that matters is building something stronger than what they broke. I didn't go to the police or drag them into public fights. I didn't spread lies about them or try to ruin their names the way they ruined mine. Instead, I started small. I kept a new notebook, this time writing down only what I knew to be true. Dates, names, conversations, receipts, every detail of how they had used my work and my reputation to advance themselves. I reached out to people one by one, not to demand they believe me, but simply to share what had happened and offer proof if they wanted it. I spent my evenings learning everything I could about business ownership, nonprofit regulations, and fair competition, things I had never bothered to study because I thought kindness was enough. And slowly, quietly, people started coming back. They remembered who had shown up when they had nothing left, who had never asked for anything in return. By the time their grand opening arrived, I had already laid the groundwork for something better. They had taken my money and my plans, but they didn't understand the most important part. This work was never about a building or a brand. It was about showing up, consistently, even when no one was watching. Their event was loud and flashy, with banners and speeches about giving back to the community, while they charged people for basic assistance I had always provided for free. They hired staff but didn't know how to train them, promised services they couldn't deliver, and treated visitors like inconveniences rather than people who needed support. The twist no one saw coming was this. I had never kept my work secret. I had just never bragged about it. When the local paper asked for stories of people making a difference, the community didn't talk about the new center downtown. They talked about me. It happened on a rainy Tuesday, 3 months after they opened their doors. A group of people who had been turned away from their office, people who couldn't pay the consultation fees they had introduced, showed up at my door instead. They brought letters, receipts, written statements, and photos of the times I had helped them. Some had even kept the emails I had sent them, the notes I had written, the plans I had shared. The truth didn't need me to shout it. It walked in on its own 2 feet. That afternoon, the local oversight board contacted them. They had misrepresented their qualifications, used funds that didn't belong to them, and violated multiple regulations for community service organizations. Their lease was terminated, their business license was revoked, and they were ordered to pay back every cent they had taken, though I told them they could pay it in installments without interest. I didn't want to leave them with nothing. I just wanted them to understand that trust is not something you steal. It's something you earn, one small choice at a time. Gia and Cynthia came to my apartment a week later, standing awkwardly in the doorway like they didn't know if they were allowed to cross the threshold. "We didn't realize how much you actually did," Cynthia said, her voice quiet. "We thought it was easy," Gia added, looking at her shoes. "We thought you just got lucky." I let them stand there for a long moment, watching the rain streak down the window behind them. "It wasn't luck," I said. "It was showing up. Every single day, even when I was tired, even when I was scared, even when no one said thank you. You can have all the plans and all the money in the world, but if you don't care about the people you're helping, you don't have anything at all." They asked if I would help them start over, if I would teach them how to do this work the right way. I told them I would, but not for free, not money, but time and effort and proof that they were willing to put others first. I told them they would have to start from the very beginning, just like I did. If you've ever felt like the world only values what you can give, rather than who you are, hit that like button. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about finding your way back when people try to take your purpose from you. 6 months later, the community center opened in a smaller, warmer building not far from where I live. It's run by volunteers, no fees, no fine print, just help for anyone who needs it. Gia works the front desk, greeting people and organizing schedules. Cynthia designs our flyers and manages our website. They still make mistakes, but they show up early and stay late, and they listen when people tell them they're doing something wrong. I still keep my notebook, but now there are 3 of us writing in it. I still fix problems, but now when I have one of my own, there are people who show up for me too. I learned something important through all of this. We spend so much time worrying about getting even with people who hurt us that we forget what we're actually fighting for. Vengeance doesn't fix anything. It just keeps you tied to the people who wanted to tear you down. The real justice isn't watching someone else fall. It's standing tall, even after they've tried to knock you over, and building something so good that even they can't help but want to be part of it. I spent 10 years fixing everyone else's problems. Now I know. The best way to make sure no one fixes yours is to build something worth protecting and surround yourself with people who will help you hold it up. The shift ends, but the stories never do. Every smile hides a struggle, every word a story. Hit subscribe and see the human side of work. Thank you for watching.